Good morning. So, though this little guy could come in the house if he wanted to, because Mikey has his vaccines and so does he sort of just hangs out on the front porch. I wonder if inside is Mikey's territory and they've had some kind of a cat conversation. So I'm going to let them, work out their cat dynamics, and maybe one day he'll end up inside. But he's so cuddly. And I'm very happy to have him. But now it's time for my monthly recap, and I'm going to be doing things a little differently this time. I love waking up in the morning, opening the door, and seeing Larry down there to greet me. He's pretty consistent. He's very cuddly and really lovely, and I'm happy that he's decided to join Mikey and I here on my little homestead. It's an extremely beautiful morning. We're having kind of a weird second summer where it's been really quite hot. It was, I think, 31 degrees yesterday. So it's been really nice, and today looks like it's going to be another beautiful day. And today is the day, it's October 1st, that I do my recap video and go over all the plans for what I want to get done in October. But I'm doing things a little bit differently this time. I'm going to switch up the format because though I have this list here and though I looked at it every day, I just find that I work on other things. I have all these intentions when I start the month, but life happens, things happen, festivals happen. I end up doing a lot of stuff that I didn't count on, and jobs pop up here and there. So the list is a really difficult thing to stick to. We're going to go through this list, see what I got done, but going forward, I'm going to switch things up a little bit. So let's chat about what I did, and then I'll explain the new format very soon. Okay, old format, here we go. There's going to be a lot of red in this bad boy. Tool shed. Did nothing. YouTube 3 years video. Did nothing. Me time. Did. Green. Inside the house, I did render the shower. Partially. Did not replace the drain. Did not tile the floor. Did not install the mini kitchen window. Didn't do closet walls. Oh no, wait. I kind of did the back closet wall. Yeah, that's a green. Started the roof. Didn't do it. And didn't even start the closet wall. And didn't even begin the bathroom wall. So there's a lot of red on there. And I don't like it. I don't like the red. I do find the list to be quite motivating. It'll be sitting there in my house. And I'll wonder what to work on for the day. I'll glance up. I'll look at the list and I'll find inspiration quite often. But more than that, I find it quite discouraging and kind of stressful. So I feel like the things that I have in my mind to do at the beginning of the month often don't really add up with just the flow of life. And instead of doing jobs on my list, I do loads of other things. And then when the time rolls around to do my recap video, I don't really talk about those things so much. So instead of making a list and having all these future goals for each month, I've decided I'm going to focus on doing more of a recap video where I go over all the things that I did in the previous month. So September was filled with a whole bunch of activities, a whole bunch of things, very few of which were on my list. So we're scrapping this thing, we're getting rid of this list, and I'm bringing in a new list. So let me write up that list. I'll be back very soon with a recap of all the cool things I did in September. I actually did accomplish quite a bit, and it was a really fun and varied month. And this list does not reflect that. So let's switch the format up and see how it goes. Bye-bye list. Okay, move the operation to the shade. And then we've got this little dude who kind of makes himself scarce during the day. I thought he was cuddly until Larry came along, and that cat is a seriously cuddly cat. But this guy, he's a cool dude, very chilled out, very relaxed. And I'm really excited to have both these little guys in my life. It's new format time. I have the red pen, but it's merely a pointer. It's not going to be doing mean things to my list. Before I get into all the cool stuff I did in September, I just wanted to say a big thanks to anyone out there who sends extra contributions to me via PayPal or Super Thanks. This month it was especially helpful with the extra cat costs that I had, and I really do appreciate it. It goes a long way either to pushing my project forward, buying materials, or in this case, it went towards about 250 euros worth of surprise cat costs. So I really do appreciate that. Thanks very much, everybody. If anyone else wants to contribute to the channel because you like what you see, you enjoy my content, there's a super thanks button thing below, and there's also my PayPal details in the comments. So, September. It was a really fun month. I did a lot of stuff. It rained. It turned from summer to fall, back to summer, and I did a lot of social things, and I basically just had a really, really fun, good month. And let's talk about it. So I'm going to go over the list. We'll flash back to the video that I took. Some stuff I did wasn't actually in the videos. And we'll just have a chat about all the fun that September held for me. So the first thing was not fun. It was unfun. There was a fire right there. Started there. Traveled all the way around the mountain right behind my house. It was very close. I was actually in Fundão when it started. I looked over towards the mountains, saw a plume of smoke, and then I started to get a bunch of calls from my friends saying that there was a fire in my village. Couldn't really do anything about it. Continued to do my laundry, went to the grocery store, and I was hoping that by the time I finished, the roads would be open and I'd be able to come back home. As it turns out, the fire raged on into the night. So I sat with some friends that live nearby on their scaffolding, and we basically watched it. And it was pretty scary because I didn't exactly know where my place was in relation to where the fire was. I just knew it was really close. Eventually, I was able to get back to my place, grab a few things. I slept at a friend's house, and it was okay. It was just the pine forest that burned. No houses were damaged as far as I know. Nobody was injured as far as I know. So it's just a reminder of how scary things can be in Portugal with the fire, but also how amazing the firefighters here are. They really do an amazing job, and I'm very thankful that they were on the case super quick, and had the planes going, the helicopters going, and they were on the ground all night, bringing it to an end. So that's very awesome. They do a really amazing job. So that wasn't fun, but it was fascinating. Is that a weird thing to say? It was really, really spooky and eerie and weird to watch a fire sweep across a mountain, and I've never seen that before. I hope I don't see it again, but it was an interesting experience, if nothing else. I picked grapes. So I picked grapes down at my friend Sancha's place. She has a bunch of little bushy grapevines. They've been totally neglected, but I was amazed to see that there's lots of beautiful grapes on there. So I went down and picked the grapes, and I took them over to my friends at Kila Yoga Farm, and we made wine with them. They have all the gear over there at Kila for making wine, and we just put it in the big purple vats, bucket by bucket, and the machine did its magic, and we then have to wait for it to ferment. So that was really cool. I enjoyed seeing the process and hanging out with my friends who are part of our little wine co-op that we have. I watered trees. I went down to my friend Sinead's place. Her trees have been neglected over the entire summer because I wasn't sure how to water them because she doesn't have enough gravity from where the water source is to where the trees are. So I rigged up a little pump that I have, hooked it up to a battery that I got from the fine folks at All Powers. That little battery's been great for me. I took it over, hooked the battery up to a little mini pump, and I was able to water the trees. So that was highly experimental. I wasn't sure if it was going to work, and I'm really glad it did because it also opens up more possibilities for taking the pump and the battery and having kind of mobile water pumping in any water source sort of around the place. Rendered the closet. The back of the closet wall has been rendered, more or less. It's not a final coat, but the pipe has been gone around. I've made a frame around it, and I've rendered the rest of the closet. That's something I've been meaning to do for a long time, so I'm really happy that's done. I also went to Fundão for a really fun festival. It's called Neighbors Day, and it's a super multicultural event. Loads of fun, loads of people, lots of different types of food, spoken word, lots of music, lots of little performances, DJs, and the party went on into the wee hours of the night, and it was really fun. and I expect that's going to be an annual event that I go to. I really liked it. More winemaking. I went back to Keela. The grapes had processed, done their fermentation thing for 10 days, and we did the transferring into the other vessels, which was, cool to see the next stage of the process, and I'm just excited to see every phase as it goes along, and very excited for the taste test. I think there's a first taste test in November sometime, and then everything gets bottled up around March. While I was there making wine, I picked up a fruit press so that my friend and I can make perry, or pear cider, I guess. It's a larger fruit press than the one we have for the wine, and it took a little bit of finagling to get the thing together, so I assembled that, and it was ready for pear pressing, which would come later on. Chainsawed firewood. Of course, even though I asked the firewood guy to give me little pieces of firewood, I got enormous pieces. So I was able to stack half of it as is, but a lot of it needed to be chainsawed down to size, and that's a project that I worked on over the course of many days. Stacked it and covered it up. So yeah, chainsawing the firewood was one big job, but also stacking it onto the pallets was another pretty mammoth task for one person. Rain prep. Every year, no matter what, no matter whether I check the forecast or not, the rain always takes me by surprise. This year we had a couple of massive storms, so there's lots to do. Cover the firewood, stack it, put the tarp over my weird window hole at the front of my house. Just lots of stuff to move into the sheltered areas. So I did that. Wasn't a massively fun job. Didn't film any of it, but it was a lot of work. Door lock cover. I did some finicky carpentry to cover up the lock of the door, just to make the whole thing look a lot nicer. It's not finished yet. I'm still trying to think of a solution for how to pull the latch in and out more easily. I'm thinking I might come up with something using wire just as a test, but for the moment I've moved on to some other things, but I have a plan. I've started that project and I like how it looks so far. Made door piece. The bottom of the door needs this piece to attach this little fuzzy thing on the bottom. I made that, and while I was doing it, I brought out the router, which is kind of my nemesis tool. I don't really know how to use the thing. I don't have a good enough setup to make the jigs and stuff that would make it more useful, but every time I can use it here and there, I'll try to get more comfortable with it so that I use it more often in the future, because I think it is going to be a fairly useful tool. So I was happy I busted that out, even though it was a very small job I did it for. Rendered the shower. I built up more of the shower wall. Layer by layer. It's just going to keep building out and keep building out. I've probably got a couple more layers still to do, but I also put in the window and shaped the area around the window. The window will come out again, so I can build up more layers, but I wanted to fasten it in so the cats don't knock it out when they come in and out. And I also just wanted to see what it's going to look like, and I'm really, really happy with how that's all going. Started the bottle wall. I have this idea to do bottles kind of in the shower, spanning across into the sort of living room area. I think it's going to be really cool. I have a weird idea with lights. All the people out there, I was asking for advice for these lights that I want to kind of dangle into the bottles. I had loads of great suggestions. I know that fairy lights are an option. It's kind of my backup plan. But I think what I actually need is something called micro LEDs. And they're the lights that are on the big light boards that operate individually. And what I would love to do would be get some of those and hang them down. And I think you can actually program them using something called Raspberry Pi or an Arduino. All of this stuff is geeky beyond my abilities, but I am quite curious to learn more about it. So I don't know if I'm going to actually get those types of lights installed, but that's what I have in mind, something that I can kind of dangle in that's really small and then actually be able to adjust the different lights, not just turn it on, but also have it kind of maybe do things and have different lights depending on my mood. So that's the master plan. I might just have to revert to fairy lights, or maybe I use fairy lights temporarily. The way I'm going to do it, it'll be pretty easy to lift it in and out, the lights in and out, hopefully. So that was an interesting thing to start. I wasn't exactly sure how it would go, and it seems to be going okay. Fed Larry. So Orange Cat had been coming around, and I wasn't really sure what to do about him. I found out that he doesn't belong to the neighbor I thought, and so I decided I would start feeding him with the intention of gaining his trust and then taking him to the vet and getting him sorted out. I don't necessarily want another cat. I didn't want another cat, but As a lot of people say in my comments, sometimes the cats choose you. And he just kept coming, and, you know, I was sad for the little guy. So as soon as I gave him food, he immediately trusted me, and I was, you know, able to catch him, and I took him to the vet, which is another thing on my list here. Took Larry to the vet. He got neutered. He got vaccinated. First, we checked him for a chip to see if he does have an owner registered to him. He doesn't. And so I guess after that whole process, I have another cat now, and he's super sweet, and we're all just getting to know each other. Mikey's a little bit timid. I think they're friends, frenemies of some kind, and they haven't completely bashed each other up yet. They do kind of spar a bit here and then. So that'll be interesting to see how that develops. But yeah, I have another cat. Comfrey tea. I made stinky comfrey tea a few months ago where you put a whole bunch of comfrey leaves in a pot, let it sit, and I used it finally. I put it on my chili plants, and it's supposed to be superfood for flowering chilies as far as I know. So I did that. Hopefully it's had an effect. Who knows? And I put some more comfrey tea on brew just by chopping more leaves and sticking it into a pot. I had a massive tomato plant that I pruned. It was getting out of control, and when I pruned it, I ended up with lots of green tomatoes, and I experimented. I made a green tomato relish, like a burger style relish. I made green tomato pickles, and I made a green tomato chutney, and all of them turned out very nicely. Planed wood. I was working on the top of the closet, but I need to plane a whole bunch of planks down to size to the right thickness, get rid of a bow. That's actually been a pretty time-consuming job, but weirdly enjoyable as well, so I've done that. Olive trees. My friends Billy and Rogerio came over for coffee and cakes, and we had a wander around my land, Sinead's land, and Sanchez's land, and we inspected the olives. Those guys are part of my little olive picking team, along with another friend, and we basically roam around each other's lands, picking all the olives, and then we combine our harvest all together. And it looks like my trees are doing very well, and it could be a good year for the harvest. Didn't harvest last year. It was pitiful. And the year before it was so good that we all had so much oil, so we didn't have to. But we're running out of oil. The harvest looks good. And so in mid-November, we'll be up those trees picking olives. Door grate. I spent a ridiculous amount of time working on a tiny little grate to go over the door made out of wood. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I'm also very happy to be finished with it. Though I enjoy the finicky carpentry and jobs that take a lot of time and focus, I also like when they're done, and I can move on to that next finicky carpentry job. I have many, many finicky carpentry jobs ahead of me. Punk. I went to a punk festival in a little village called Fatella. It was really fun. Second time I've gone. It was loud. There was good food. I was there with good friends, and just had a really fun time. It'll be another annual thing for me. I'm a fan. Even though I'm the most unpunk person ever. Made Perry. Perry, I guess, is pear cider, and my friend Kimberly and I have been making pear cider. I haven't shared any of that process yet because I'll release it all in one video when we're able to go start to finish, finishing up with a taste test. Spoiler alert, I'm pretty sure we might have messed it up, but I'm medium confident. In this case, I'm 49% confident that we didn't screw it up, so we'll see. Mikey also went to the vet. He was such a good little guy, super chilled. He's a very relaxed cat, and getting him in the box into the vet was a piece of cake. He's happy and healthy, but I gave him his vaccinations, so hopefully he's protected for all the stuff out there in the world for outdoor cats. Hosted a workday. You'll see this in a future video in October. I had a bunch of permaculture design course people that are at Kila Yoga Farm come around to do a workday. It's a really cool thing that they do. They often run courses, and as part of permaculture, there is a principle fair share, and as part of that, they send people out into the community and they help out. So for them, they get to see other people's homesteads, get ideas for what they want to do, and the person hosting gives them some lunch, gives them a tour, and gets a little bit of work out of them as well for jobs that are maybe difficult. For me, as one person, there's lots of jobs that are just too hard or just not very fun at all, and we tackled that awful path into the forest and did a bunch of other stuff as well. So it was a great day, and I'll share it soon. And that is my September recap. I don't know if this format is interesting, flashing back to the videos from the past, talking about the things I did, maybe elaborating a little bit more on them. Let me know what you think of this format. I can always switch things up. I just find it a little more positive than going over a list with the dreaded red pen and seeing that I'm not really accomplishing the things that I hope to accomplish, because the reality is that the days here and the weeks here and the months here don't usually turn out as you plan them. You just kind of go with the flow and get done whatever gets done and switch things up as needed. So as part of this new format, for the month ahead, I'm not going to do a new list. I'm just going to choose one thing that I'm going to try to focus on over that month. And in this case, in October, for reasons I'll explain later, there's not going to be a lot of work done at my place. And that means that I'm going to be doing some work online. And that means I'm hoping to push the YouTube channel forward. Maybe put an actual header for the channel that doesn't suck. Maybe get a logo in place. Maybe do a little intro video. Maybe work on a recap video for the past 3 years. I'm not exactly sure yet, but I'm not going to be working on the land too much in October. And so I'm going to be looking for stuff to do that still pushes my little project forward and it's still productive. And that's hopefully going to be improvements to the channel. So you'll hear a little bit more about that in a future video. But for now, that's it. That's my September recap, my October non-plans. And yeah, that's the new format. So I hope you enjoyed it. Do let me know in the comments what you think. If you have any questions at all about anything I've done in September, or if you just want to say hello, leave me a comment below. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.